All right. Hey, how's it going? So today I want to look at this apple.com section, just this particular section, this two-column layout. I thought it was pretty interesting. Um, it's actually quite a simple layout, but there's kind of a lot going on with accessibility here because you have this card is all clickable, but so are these links and nothing's nested, so they're all siblings. If we tab, we're just tabbing through the links and not the actual cards, which are anchor tags. We have this kind of image. This is an image here, but also I think it's an H4 or needs to be an H5. So some SEO stuff there. And yeah, so I just wanted to explore the new Webflow Quick Stack element. And, they market it as this is exactly what apple.com uses. So let's see how it holds up. Anyways, I'm going to be using client first today. And, I may use quite a number of custom classes. So I might not pull that much from the client first library, but we'll go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead. I'm going to make sure everything's set up on this stream all right. It looks like, oh, Shane's popped in. Got to say what's up to Shane. Thanks for hopping in, man. Hope all is well with you. And yeah, if you see the two-column layout and you have any questions, just chuck them in the chat and I'll get to it. So I've got this clonable all ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and I'll delete that. Now I'm zoomed in, which means I can't use this this little side dock here. So if I do need to zoom out and I forget to zoom back in, just let me know. Cool. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and drag the quick stack element right in here. So we've got that, and we see immediately we've got padding of 20 on all sides and a gap of 20 pixels, and we can adjust the columns and rows, but it's already laid out to what we want. Now, as I understand, the quick stack element is just a grid for quick stack, and each cell is a flex child. Well, not a flex child, but has flexbox applied to it. Yep, so it's got flex vertical, and yeah, so pretty easy. Like in general, it's basically grid with flexbox divs right as children. One thing I did notice as I was working with it is the display property is not here, so I can't change it to like I can't change this later if I wanted to something in like block or inline. Sorry, the display property is here. I think I'm talking about the what's the other one? Position. So I can't change it to relative or absolute. Anyways, we'll kind of get into that. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got the iPhone over here. So first thing I'll do is I need to grab these assets, and probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the content control kind of the sizing, and then everything else is going to be absolute. If we inspect here, we've got a number. So this is the semantically tagged section. So that would probably be the first thing I want to do is take this quick stack and oh, I can't even tag it as a section. So I've already found something and I got to wrap it. So let's go ahead. Quick stack elements cannot be wrapped. So that's a bummer. So I can't semantically, I can't drag it. Oh, now I can wrap it. Anyways, that worked. So we've got that as a section, and I'm going to try to move a little bit quicker. I'm going slow right now, but yeah, so we have our section here. We've got this div. We've got the content wrapper, basically the unit wrapper. This has a combo class of yellow, which I'm guessing is controlling that image, that background image there. And then we have, okay, we have an anchor tag, we have the copy, and then we have the image. And this has an image right in here. So let's go ahead and grab this. I'm just going to save this. Sure. And we'll go ahead and grab the other one while we're at it. So within image wrapper, and that is semantically tagged as a figure. So let's save that image. All right. So these quick stacks already have cells in them. Now, what were the, let's inspect here. So we've got an H4 is iPhone and H5 is wonderful. And let's go ahead and set up our page structure first, our style. So I'll select body all pages. And I'm just going to keep this at system UI. Looks like it's already set. That must be a client first thing. And 1 rem, 1.5. Sure, why not? Actually, what is the color here? So let's just, I have a feeling Apple's not using full black. Let's grab that. Okay. So we had our H4 and our H5. So let's just start dragging those in. iPhone. And drag this in. wonderful. And this was an H5. And what are the sizes on this? So the headline here, oh man, this is going to be a boring stream if it's just me scrolling through Inspector. Hey, Kudzi, what's going on? No, man, we are learning. We are learning from the best here. That's what we're doing. This isn't plagiarism. So 40 pixels for the H4 and 21 for the H5. So let's come in here. We'll come to all H4 and we'll say 40 divided by 16 for our rem. And all H5 will be 21 divided by 16 rem, like that. It looks a little large. Maybe it's because it's bold. Set that to normal. Sure. And now I'm going to take this cell and I'm going to have everything centered. And then we have these links as well here. I'll tackle those in a minute. Let's get our image going. So we saw already that, you know, I have to wrap these in a div. So I'm going to call this content. And we'll just go, and actually since I'm doing kind of a client first thing here, let's call this, we'll call this card underscore content. And these shouldn't have classes applied. This one I must have missed all H5 headings. What did I change there that I missed? Oh well. Oh yeah, the font weight. So all H5, and we'll change this back to normal. And now I'm already noticing that it's taking up it's left aligned here. So we want that to be center aligned. And I think I can actually center align everything within the card. It looks like pretty much everything's going to be center aligned, and I'm imagining it's going to be for all breakpoints too. So let's come to the parent of all that, and since that has a class applied, I'll apply text center there, so that's looking better. And let's go ahead and drop our image in. Finally, I think I've said I'm going to do that like 3 times now. So we've got this, let's drag that in there. And we've got this, let's drag that in there. And so we saw they were using a image wrapper, so I'll just kind of copy what Apple was doing here. And so we can say card underscore image wrap. And then we'll drop another div in there. And this is going to be card underscore image. Kudzi, what's new with you? What's going on this weekend? If you're still here, let me know. Curious what you're working on. I saw you post about that that circle slider thing you were working on. That looked like a tough one. Okay, so I'm in card image here. Let's go ahead and set the background image. And we'll choose this iPhone image here. And it's not showing up. There it is. If I change it to cover, it is, because it's still, it doesn't have any width or height defined. Like when I use a background image, it's just a background for the div. So we've got to set our image properties. And now I set this to absolute because I want it to take up the whole card, and I'm going to set it to full. But I'm going to run into some trouble here because I already know the cell I can't change to position relative. So, and I want this card content actually to be the one that's, sorry, not card content, this card image wrap to be the one that's filling up the entire card. So this is the one that's actually going to get position absolute. So let me come back here and undo that by option clicking. And so what I need to do now is wrap this div in something, and I'll just call it actually card underscore wrap. Yeah, that's fine for now. And I need to do this because I need something that I can set the position on relative. And so now I can take this card image wrap and I can set this position to absolute and set it to cover the whole thing. But it's covering this image wrap, which also has no width or height data for it as well. So let's set the width to 100% and see what that does. And a height 100% won't do anything at the moment because I don't have any height applied to the card, the cell element. So let's go ahead and come to the cell. I think Apple's using like a 490 pixel height on here. Let's see. Content height is 580 pixels. So let's see how that looks. We could apply that on the quick stack or the cell. I'm going to go ahead and apply it. We could also do it on the section. Let's apply it to the quick stack. What do I want to call this? Let's see, card underscore section. Sure, why not? And what did I say? 580 pixels. So that looks a little bit large to me. It's 490. Okay, that's much better. And then you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on this one because that'll update the cells over here. And we can already see that like the grid is adjusting shape because there's nothing in this cell. So let's come back over to our navigator. And let's see, I set the height on this and the cell is already taking up 100% because it has flex. And the card wrap is width 100, 100. And now I just want to see this image before I do anything else. So let's set that width to 100 and that width to that height to 100. Oops, that's not the one. We have this card or this image. And there we go. Now that's taking up 100%, and we need to actually work on our position property here. So that's in the middle now. This navigator is getting in the way. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna just duplicate this because I want to work within a cell that's visible. So that's been duplicated, but on this card image, I'm gonna say this is Vision Pro because I'm gonna change the background image on this. And so I'm going to go ahead and select here, and I'll grab this one of this nice lady with her cool looking goggles. So we've got that. You know, I'm wondering if I accidentally dragged. Yeah, this is saying 2 by 1. So this needs to be 1FR. I think that was a mistake on my part. All right, so we've got that set up, but we've lost our content. So one thing we can do is we can just drag our content up, and it's not showing still. Actually, the last thing that we later elements in the DOM tree are going to be the ones that render on top if they're within the same stacking context. But also, since this has position absolute, it's going to take precedence. So let's go ahead and bring that up here. And the card content, if I give position relative, should be visible now. And it is, so that's great. And something I want to do is I think I want to make this card content take up 100% of the height because I need the second one to come down. And it's okay to do that to both of those, but if I say this is Vision Pro as well, then I can kind of align this to the bottom. Now let's go ahead and set this to flex, and we'll set this also to vertical, and we'll send the justify to the end here. I think it's end, yeah. And we're gonna need to apply some padding to everything as well. So we can go ahead and I guess we could wrap, what do we want to wrap with padding? Let's try this. Let's try wrapping the card wrap. So we'll say padding, I don't know, medium. That's 2 rem. That's going to be too much. And it's already, I need to put this in the right spot. Okay, that is getting better, but it's not taking the whole height, so the padding medium needs to come even further nested. So let's just pad everything here. That makes sense, but now it's not showing up because of that relative issue that we were having. So select this. I'm trying to be pretty diligent with how I'm building everything, just to make it super clean. So this is Vision Pro, and here's our card wrap. Relative, if I set this to 2, no, it's not going to come up. Why did adding the padding medium suddenly make my text disappear? That's curious. Let's see. If I get rid of that still, okay, I must have done something else. Let's make this the index 1, and this was relative. Let me get rid of this and set this the index to 2. Okay, now I can see everything. Back to Vision Pro. And now we'll apply our padding medium. Great. Okay, so I had a z-index issue there. And we're already doing better. So I've got this, I've got this. What do we want to work on next? Let's see. I need to add some padding as well here. So let's go ahead and work on that. And we'll drag our H5 in there. So I'm liking that already. And I think the basic setup here is actually looking quite good. I'm liking how everything is a bit responsive already. Obviously, we haven't tackled stacking the cards on top of each other, but that's easy enough. We can just do that. Let's see how quick stack handles that. So here I would just come down to one column. And what is the padding that they're using here? Or the gap? Looks like they're using this gutter with CSS variable of 12 pixels. So we can just say 12 and then shift enter. And that's setting the padding everywhere, and then 12, and this is locked. So the columns and rows are both going to update to 12 pixels. And I accidentally set that. I was on the mobile breakpoint here, so let me actually Control Z to undo. And I'll come back to the desktop breakpoint and I'll do it here. All right, so that's all set, and that will now distribute down to our lower breakpoints. So we're happy with that. Now I'm thinking that the next thing I want to tackle is let's get this image in here and see how Apple's doing that, because what was interesting here is that we have, this is our unit copy wrapper, and then within that we have an H4 and we have an H5, but our H4, you'll notice it has this drop down, it has a span, and the span is what actually has this Apple Vision Pro title, and it has a class of visually hidden. Hey Omkar, thanks for stopping in. And the H4 is actually an image. So because they want to use this Apple branding right here, you know, Vision Pro right here is an image, and yeah, see they're setting a background image, so we can see that here. And then a span of Apple Vision Pro, and this is for SEO, so that a screen reader knows, or I guess not a screen reader, Google knows to index this as an H4 with Apple Vision Pro as the heading, but they don't want to visually show that to the user. They want to show this H4 image. Now that's also not very accessible because somebody who can't see, you know, they can't see this heading, but they can use a screen reader to see Apple or to hear Apple Vision Pro. So let's go ahead and work on that. So I'm gonna just take this here heading. We'll save that as an image. Sure, whatever Apple named it is good enough for me. And so we know this is actually going to be Apple Vision, Vision Pro. And we're going to give this a class of visually hidden. And I'm interested in what they're using for CSS in that class. It's a bunch of stuff to hide something. So position absolute, it's got a clipping path on it, it's got overflow set to hidden, it's got a height of 1 by 1, and 0 padding. So a couple of different ways. You could probably apply this class of visually hidden to any sort of element, not just text, and it's not going to show up. Anyways, so we've got our text there, and this actually needs to be a span, so I'll wrap it with a span, and this is the one that's going to have visually hidden. So let's go ahead and undo that. We'll delete that from our actual H4, but the span we're going to set to 1 pixel by 1 pixel, and we can still see it because there's no overflow set to hidden and position set to absolute. And now we can see that is gone. However, we need a background image on the H4. So let's go ahead, come to the H4, and I'm going to drag this Vision Pro image in there. So that's in there now. And let's go ahead and choose that. So now we've got that, but we can't see anything because it has no width or height, right? So as a background image, again, we have to kind of set those things ourselves. So let's see what Apple did. I'm going to grab this here. So they're saying they've got a font size. That's not going to do anything for us. Width is set to 88% and a max width of 430 pixels. Let's see. And a height here for a logo image class of 41 pixels. Their background size is 196 by 41. So we could go ahead and set that right here. And we're not going to want to repeat, and we'll set it from the center. And it's not actually showing up, so let's go ahead. What else did they had? 88% by 41 pixels too. And now we'll see that. So that's good. And let's update this text. It's welcome to the era of spatial computing. And something that was interesting about this, so here I can see it's taking up the whole thing here, but Apple's trying to make sure that they don't have orphaned text. You see as I'm making this smaller, that spatial computing wraps and not just the word computing. So let's come back to Webflow here, and I'll come into preview mode, and we'll see mine's probably gonna, oh, I misspelled spatial, but you see how computing comes down there. So that's what's called an orphan, and we want to try to avoid those if we're wearing our fancy designer pants, which Apple is always wearing its fancy designer pants. And so we could see, I think they're going to have a max width on something around there. So let's see where that max width is applied. So we have our unit copy wrapper, H4. Welcome to the era of spatial computing. Yeah, see, so with 88% and that max width of 430 pixels, and that's on this, what class is that on here? Main data module template equals promos. It's on the unit copy wrapper. So we can actually probably bring that up. So I set the width and height there as 88%. Let's get rid of that. That doesn't need to be 88%. That was a mistake. And on card content, this is already Vision Pro. And so if we set our max width of 430 pixels, it's not going to be centered. That's okay for now. And what was the other thing that I wanted to say? Oh, with the 88%. So let's set that width of 88% as well. And then this already has the combo class of Vision Pro, so I can just go ahead and center this whole thing like that. And I'm thinking that we have this orphan text because I don't have the size of the text correct. So let's investigate. So I've got this at 21 pixels, a line height of 1.2, a font weight of 400, and a spacing of 0.16 EM. So let's see if we can get this right. This is all H5s. I'm still not getting it perfect. Let's see. It still looks kind of big. What did maybe I mistyped the font size. Still good. So something we could do, we can't bring that up, but we can bring that down. Let's see what we get. So it's kind of like, it's a push-pull between the text size and the max width that we're setting here. So what I could do is bring the max width down a little bit. And let me go back to our desktop breakpoint and just start bringing this down so that when our text wraps, we're good to go. So all H5s, and this was 21 divided by 16 rem. You know, there's a new CSS property called text wrap balance that I want to start using now. But yeah, so what's going on here? Let's see. Let's tackle this. So it's already too small because we know it can take up one line. But what we want is, as the card is collapsing, we want also that H5 to have a min width applied to it, such that when it has one row, that it's good to go. So I'll work on this for a little bit longer, but otherwise I will move on. So 440, what gets me to 1? I'm probably being stupid about this. Text wrapping issues are so annoying to deal with. Yeah. You know, when I was just testing this out, I had it so easy. Maybe it's because I'm using this padding medium here. That's probably what's why it's getting me like that. So let's move these out, and I'll delete the padding medium for now. And on the H5, so I'm good to go there. Let me go back to all H5s. No, let me go back to card content, and I'll reset this to what Apple had, which was 430 pixels. Ah, that's so annoying. I probably need to set the padding now on the card itself. Yeah, let's see what the padding is. Are they using, so this doesn't have any. This definitely looks like it does. Let's see if I come down here, so they're using margin, that looks like margin auto. And is this using margin auto as well? Maybe it's because they're using this SF Pro display and I'm just using System UI. Yeah, margin left, right, auto. No padding on this. Let's see real quick. I got one more idea and then I'll call it. So I'm coming, okay, here we're at tablet breakpoint, and now, yeah, so what we'll do is at tablet breakpoint, we'll just use our media query here to reset the max width here, and we'll just make it a little, we'll do a cheeky thing. That is not doing anything. Why is that not doing anything? Let's come back to card content. Is it because I hard coded our width at 88%? Let's just set this to auto. There we go. So card content, I set the max width, but that's going to screw me because I don't think that this other one wraps. Yeah. So let's apply it to the element itself. I'm going to reset these. I'm going to come back to desktop. I'll take card content. I like this width at 88%, but I'm not going to keep any max width on that. Let's go ahead and wrap this in a in its own div, and we'll call this card underscore h5 max width, and we'll just set this to 430 pixels for now. And of course, that's going to make it come to the right. So in our card content, we can just chuck everything in the middle again, and that screws up my heading. So let's come back to max width and we'll just auto margin that. So that's an easy way to take care of that. And so our max width is at 430 pixels. Let's make sure that that's actually the value I want to use on tablet. No, it's not. So come back down to tablet. And is this not working because margin auto? Man, what's going on here? I'm getting crushed. I'm getting crushed. Oh, we can add a non-break space. Yeah, you're totally right. Let's see. You know what? Actually, I can't do that because... Oh, no. I think I can. Option spacebar. So is that what I want? Yes. Balthazar. The hero coming in. The hero I needed. I think I've spent like 10 minutes on this. Wow. Thank you for your help. All right, so let's get rid of this. And I don't probably even need this max width anymore. So let's delete that. And let's see where we're at. Boom. So much easier. Okay, well, I won't forget that. All right, let's keep moving on here. I'm going to rewrap this with our padding medium. Why does this have a H2? Okay. Let's give this a card. Yeah. We'll just call it image H4. So just like that. And then I'll wrap this back in padding medium. All right, so let's move on to something else. So I think we should probably start working on these link blocks. These are interesting. We're going to have to do some custom CSS here because, or you'd have to use Wefel interactions. I'm going to use custom CSS. You notice as we hover this little chevron icon that we're still getting the underline on learn more. So we want to make sure that, you know, we're watching for the hover event on the outer element or the wrapper that we're going to build, but that we're just underlining the text here. So let's get working on that. And I'm going to, it's going to be within card content. Let's work on this one so it's more visible for you guys. And I'm going to put it within padding medium. So we'll just Command K. And I want to add a link block. Do I want a link block? Yes, I do. So this is going to be our A tag. And we'll call this, this is going to be more like a utility class. So I would, not use the card prefix here. This will be our Apple utility, like anything Apple-esque, we'll call it Apple. You see these Apple style link blocks everywhere. And then we'll drag a text inside of there. And I'm going to use an SVG for these icons. So let me grab that. If I did prepare anything, it was these SVG icons. And we'll drop an embed in to our link block and paste that SVG. And you'll notice with this SVG, the width and height are set to 100%. So that's going to be of its parent div, right? Or the embed in this case. It's got the preserve aspect ratio attribute here. This is saying it's preserving the aspect ratio from the mid-X and mid-Y. And then the other thing is that its fill is set to current color. That way we can set the text color on the parent and the image will inherit that. So look at that. We've got this giant HTML embed. And I'm going to give this, let's see. This needs to be inside the link block. And we'll call this Apple arrow icon. And let's set it to 1 rem by 1 rem for now. And I'm going to flex center everything within the embed itself. And in Apple link block, I'm going to flex horizontal mid everything. And this isn't taking up any space. Even though I gave it a defined height of 1 pixel, 1 rem is what I want. So that's back. And the Apple link block, if I just set this to block, no, we want to set it to horizontal, align center. And that is good there. So let's go ahead. We definitely want this to be centered. And it's not because it's within padding medium. What we can do is wrap these. Oops, I closed. I think I just quit. Oh no, I just hid my window here. Okay. Let's give this a class of align center. So there we go. And everything's going to chuck in there. And we'll also give it text align center. So that's good. That's actually not good. So this has a display set to flex, and its parent is set to block. So this is going to try to take up everything, and we just want it to be centered, right? So the align center is not what we want for that. And padding medium doesn't have any of those styles applied to it. So we would love to give padding medium like flex center here, but we also don't want to do that because that plays with that ruins our utility class. So we don't want to do that. So, using this padding medium here is giving me lots of issues. So I'm just going to pull that out. And the card content I know has vertical, and I can center that. That gets rid of my card. So I need to give this some sort of width. We knew 88% worked. So that's good. And I think this is going to be a lot easier to deal with. And we could probably just wrap card content now with our padding medium. For some reason, the wrapping hotkey's not working, so we're going to do it old school way. Bring it up. I'm just trying to be really diligent about how I'm building everything here. Actually, we're going to lose the flex end there, so we'll get rid of that. And I think it'd just be easier to maybe apply padding medium as a combo class to this here. So we'll work with that for now and see how that goes. And card content is looking good. I can probably give this some sort of gap so that those are spaced out a little bit. And I know I have one other bit of text to get down here, but I was working on this link. So we'll call this learn more. And that's good. Let's get the Apple color. So what is that color? I just had it. Dun dun. Come back here. So 0066cc, which I could probably approximate, which is 06c. So I got the link block selected here. So there we go. We've got our Apple color. Let's save this as a swatch. And good. So we've got some sort of styling going on here. Let me bring Navigator back and select the link block. Now the decoration is set to none on that right now, which is fine, but I have to actually select it to get rid of it. Because the default the default Wefel link block will automatically apply a certain color, usually the blue, which we already overwrote, and the underlying text decoration. So spacer class, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna use block spacers here, but I haven't done that yet. Anyway, so we'll see if I get to that. Try to create some controversy. Okay, so we have this here. Let's go ahead and write our little custom CSS to make this underline work. So we'll chuck an embed in here. Actually, let's just go ahead and use the global styles component that comes with client first. And so the CSS that we want to write is that we want to know when the user hovers this Apple link block here, we want to apply text underline to this text block. So right now this doesn't have any class, so let's give this an actual class, Apple underscore link text. So we're going to target that class and we're going to apply this text decoration underline to it. So I just selected that, and a little trick, if you don't know what the CSS properties actually are, we can look at CSS preview, and so we know that we want to apply text decoration underline. So let's go ahead and copy this to the clipboard. I'm going to actually get rid of that though, and we'll come into the global styles component. So let's go ahead and edit that, and this has the custom code div in here. So it's got all these client first styles. That's great. Decide where we want to put this, either at the beginning or the end. Let's chuck it at the end. So we know that when we hover Apple underscore link block, so the selector of hover here, and we want to look for any children, which we can specify just with the space. And I'm just going to paste our Apple link text. We're using a period right here to specify that it's a class. So we're looking for Apple link text within the Apple link block when it's hovered, and we'll give it a text decoration of underline. And we'll save and close that and see if we got it working. And look, it works. And you'll notice when we hover this little embed over here, it still underlines the learn more text. And I didn't see really any transition applied to this. It looks like it's pretty much automatic, so I'm not going to apply any CSS transitions to that. So we've got this working. Let me make sure I have the sizing proper on that. So this is 17 pixels. So we'll come back here. And apply that. And you know why everything's looking big is because I'm so zoomed in. So that's something to note. And we also need this subheading here. So let me come down. They're just using paragraph element for that. And I'm going to use the client first text muted for this. So we'll just drop in that paragraph like they had and paste, and we'll say text muted. And that's looking pretty good. I didn't actually even pull the gray that Apple's using, so let's see what gray they're using. And they're using a class called callout, so they're calling it a callout. It's just interesting to know what the professionals are calling everything and how they think about stuff. Okay, so text muted. It's interesting that the style's not showing up here in Designer. Anyways, we got it there. All right, so we are still moving here. I've got this learn more. Let's go ahead and bring this up into our other thing that we've got going on over here. And now I got upset that I was putting this padding medium right here. So let's pull that out. And everything's in card content, which my IsVision Pro, I think that combo class is what gives this the align center. But let's delete that because, because I want the card content to be controlling all of this stuff. This is, our layout. This is what's controlling the layout of our content. So it makes sense for this to have the display and the layout styles applied to it. And that needs to be vertical and center. And I'm not going to justify center. I want it to be at the start. So this is all good. And let me get back here so what I can do is just reset these to the styles. Actually, justify still needs to be at the end, but display is good. and the gap is 0.5. I'll set that on the card content itself. So just like that, now we're good. We have pretty good structure. This is a bit smaller here, so I can play with that. And these headings probably have some default margin top and margin bottom. No, they don't, because this is client first. Let's see here. So what I could do, why am I getting, oh, because 0.25 rem. So let's set that to 0, and we'll use our spacer blocks as Shane mentioned. So that's looking pretty good. What I'll do here is I'll just drag a div in, and this will be padding probably small. Smaller than that. Padding tiny. And so now we can see this is just being used as a spacer. What's padding extra small? Sure, that's better for now. So we have this link, but you notice, of course, we have two links here. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. And then we're going to need to wrap it. So Option Command G. And this div block we will name card. Well, let's just call it links wrapper or links wrap. It's just going to be flex horizontal, all in the middle. And we'll give it something like 0.5 rem for now. And we need to drag our other link block within there. So, and this says buy. Okay, just like that. And I do want to come back to card content here, and I did like actually even spacing here. That looked all right. Cool, so we've got kind of our main setup here. It's been, how long did this take? 40 minutes. Most of that spent screwing around with padding medium and no break spaces. But we've got something to start working with, and there's a couple other things that I want to touch on. You know, the pretty happy with the responsiveness at the moment. I think the cell, so we did set the one mistake is on card section, I think is where I set the height, is 490. Since we're stacking them on mobile, we actually want this to be on these cells. So we will set the height on these, which we cannot do. So that's another thing we don't have access to, but on the card wrap we sure can. And we'll set a min height of 490 pixels on these. Don't want to set a definite height, because if we somehow overflowed these, then we don't want to like show text being cut off or anything. So let's check out our different breakpoints. That's looking a lot better. Now these probably don't need to be 490 pixels on the smaller breakpoints. Let's see what they're using. It looks like they're a little bit smaller. What's the height of this? That's still pretty high, I guess. It's probably because I'm zoomed in again. So it's hard for me to know what's big and what's not because I'm zoomed in. Anyways, that's great. So let's zoom in one here and zoom in another. Okay, what's, you know, I'm pretty happy. Actually, let's zoom out and just check what we've got. So that's good. And these are now wrapping. Kind of, I would probably adjust, you know, on the other breakpoints we have to work with our H5s and our H4s. But I'll leave that for another time. I kind of want to tackle this accessibility issue that we're going to have with our links. Like right now, as I hover the card, nothing, you know, there's nothing indicating that this is a link. The user has to hover this. Now, if we notice, I talked about this in the beginning, we have these anchor tags that are siblings to our copy wrapper and our image wrapper. However, we're going to run into some issues once we start wrapping everything with a link tag, because we're not going to be able to select them in Designer, and we're going to have issues with accessibility if our user is tabbing through the interface. But let's go ahead and get started, because we got to get something on the page. So we'll come in here, take a link block, and right in our card, let's see, do I want it inside or outside? Let's keep it inside because similar to how Apple had it, they're siblings to the image and the content wrappers. So I'm going to take this link block and I'm going to say card underscore card link. And this one I'm going to set to be position absolute. And now it also has to be inside since it's position absolute because it needs card wrap as the parent element since that has position relative set to it. So we'll set absolute and to full, and so now we can see that's taking up the entire space of the card, and I'm also going to drop it here inside of our second cell. Okay, so now we can see like, okay, that's in there, but it's still not actually clickable because this other stuff is on top of it. It has this higher z index, right? So our image wrap has a z index of 1. Our card content has z index of 2. So let's go ahead and make our link z index of 3. Now here's where we get our issues, is now I can't select anything. And you notice even in Inspector, I was kind of having trouble selecting stuff. Like even if I hover over here, it's just selecting the index or the anchor tag because that's what's on top. But if we look, we can see it's got tab index set to -1, and that's what's preventing us from being able to tab through it, but we can still click it. And let's see what other kind of settings they've applied to it. I'm looking for pointer events. Actually, the pointer events should be normal. Let's play around in Webflow and see what we can get working here. So we've got our link, and that's happening on top now, but we can't hover this anymore, I guess is kind of the major thing that I want to say. And we can't take card content and bring this up above because then this will no longer be clickable. So what we want to do What do we want to do? Let me see. I'm just looking on another window that I have open here. Let's explore. So if I set pointer events to none on the card content, then I obviously can't click this link still, but I can come down even deeper and set the card contents pointer events on that. And if I set the card content z index higher, then it'll appear on top of the link, but it has pointer events none set on it. Okay, that's what I want to do. So I'm going to take the link block and I'm going to give this z index 2, and it's going to automatically apply to this one too because they have the same class name. And I'll take card content, and now this is going to get, this one has the combo class, so let me go ahead and click this one, and I'm going to move it up just so it's the same down and on both of our cards. And this one's going to get z index of 3. So now it's appearing above, and I know I can't click the link anymore, but that's okay. Why did that one show a link? Oops, not comments. Oh, because I set that max width, so that's what's going on there. So let's fix that. So the image is showing, and you know, that's fine. I don't really actually even need to fix that. If I change this, that's fine. The width I set to this whatchamacallit, this logo image. Let's get back to the problem at hand. So we set our z index on card content to be higher than the link block. So this is 2, and card content now is 3, and that's good. So let's take this class and come into our global styles, and we'll edit that. And so we'll take the class of card content, and we'll give this pointer events set to none. So now it's on top, but we can't click it, and that's fine, but we need to get the, what was it, the Apple, I think, link block, Apple underscore link block. and set the pointer events to all on this one. So let's save and come back. And now we're getting our cursor is showing up as a finger here, and we're able to hover the link block now too. And you notice it doesn't even like change to an arrow or anything. So we are good to go with that. Now, if I'm also previewing and I start tabbing, you'll see I can tab through the actual anchor tags that are wrapping, or not really wrapping, since they're not nested, but they're set to position absolute to take up the whole space. So a way to fix that is to come in here and in our custom attributes, oh, that's way too much zoom. We can set tab index to -1, and we're going to have to do that on both. Tab index set to -1. And now let's see if I preview and I start tabbing. I'm only tabbing through the links. I'm not tabbing through the block itself. I think that's most of what I want to cover with this one. I think we're good with what we got here. Yeah, you know, this is looking good on all breakpoints too. Got the vertical breakpoints going on here too with FinSuite. Cool. So I will drop this. Actually, there's a couple other things. The card image needs to be tagged as a figure. And why did that mess that up? That's interesting. So maybe it doesn't need that. It's not an image tag, so it makes sense that we have to specify that this is what it is. That's really curious that it made it drop down like that. Let me refresh. I was not expecting that. This might have to be a lookup for me. Let's come to the image and come here. I don't want to repeat it. Set it back to cover. Yeah, not sure. Oh, it set a 2. That's odd. This is coming from all figures, that's why. Okay, and now let's reapply this, and we should be good to go. Okay. Saved it. And we'll come to the other one and apply a figure to that. So some fancy little tricks here, both for accessibility and SEO. Ben Davis, hey, what's up? How's it going? Just stopping in to show some love. Thank you. Yeah, you know, this was a really interesting build to me. One, to be able to use Quick Stack and just explore what's available and what's not. For me personally, it seems like it's a great way, if you're new to Webflow, to build like a nice column layout without screwing up. But it's really just a grid with some divs inside with flex set to vertical. Yeah, and other than that, you know, we learned about how to use kind of these headings as images and how to make them accessible while we're still doing that. We learned how to make more accessible like tabbing experiences as you're tabbing through with tab index -1. We did a little custom CSS to show how to hover over an entire link block but only underline a child element of that. And we looked at like using background images instead of maybe the image component. So pretty simple, like 2-column setup. I feel like I could set this up in 5 to 10 minutes. You know, if I didn't have all of these accessibility and SEO and design, like the no break space is what killed me here, things in mind. But in general, like if we want to build more professional websites and understand stuff about web development in general, then going through this is a really good exercise. Anyways, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching.